Most people think that if they live high enough, nothing can reach their window. I thought the same thing. This is a story about quiet nights, soft knocking, and the moment I realized something was climbing the walls outside my apartment. If you enjoy realistic horror stories like this one, subscribe to the channel. New stories are uploaded regularly. Now, listen carefully, because this is what started knocking on my window at night. I used to sleep with my window slightly open, not wide, just enough to let air in. My apartment is on the 4th floor of an old residential building. Not a skyscraper, not a ground floor either. High enough that you don't expect anyone to be near your window. That's important. Because what happened later only makes sense if you understand one thing first. No one should be able to reach that window. At least, that's what I believed. The first time I heard it, I thought it was nothing. A faint sound, barely there, like a fingernail brushing glass. I didn't even open my eyes. I was half asleep, drifting, my brain already looking for excuses. Wind, branches, old building noises. I turned over and went back to sleep. The second night, it happened again. This time, I was awake, not fully alert, that groggy state where your body hasn't caught up with your mind yet. Tap. Soft. Careful. Not random. It came from the direction of the window. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening. Nothing followed. No scratching, no knocking. Just silence. I checked the time. 2:11 a.m. I told myself it was an insect. Maybe something hitting the glass. I didn't look. That was my second mistake. Over the next week, the sound became consistent. Not every night, but often enough. Always late. Always after midnight. Always the same. A light tap. Sometimes two. Never more, never loud. As if whatever was out there didn't want to wake me up. Just wanted to see if I was listening. That thought made my stomach tighten the first time it crossed my mind. I started closing the window before going to bed. The sound didn't stop. It changed. Now it was duller, muffled. Tap, tap. Like something touching the glass from the outside, testing it. I told myself it had to be birds, or debris, or stress messing with my head. But deep down, something felt wrong. Because the taps were always deliberate, evenly spaced, patient. One night, I finally got up. The room was dark, lit only by the faint orange glow from the streetlights below. I approached the window slowly. My reflection stared back at me. I leaned closer. Nothing outside, no movement, no shadow. Just the empty night and the distant hum of traffic. I laughed quietly at myself and stepped back. That's when it happened. Tap, right in front of my face. I froze. The sound came again, this time closer to the edge of the glass, as if something had moved. Okay, that's not normal. I didn't open the window. I didn't pull the curtains aside. I stepped back, heart pounding, and turned on the light. The tapping stopped immediately. That detail stuck with me, because it meant one thing. Whatever it was, it knew when I was awake.
The next morning, I checked the outside of the building. From the street, I looked up at my window. 4th floor. No trees nearby, no fire escape, no ledges, just flat concrete. There was no logical way for anything to be near that glass. That's when the fear stopped being abstract. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on my bed, light on, watching the window. Hours passed. Nothing happened. At around 3 a.m., I relaxed slightly. I thought maybe confronting it had scared it away. Then, tap. From the top corner of the window, higher than before, slow, careful. Like whatever was out there had repositioned itself. And this time, I heard something else. Breathing. Very quiet. Very close. I stayed perfectly still. Didn't blink, didn't move. The breathing stopped. Then something slid across the glass. Not scratching, dragging, like skin. Oh no. I backed away, grabbed my phone, and locked myself in the bathroom until sunrise. The next day, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. There were faint marks on the outside of the glass. Long, smudged, not scratches, handprints.
But not human. Too wide, too many joints. And they were positioned vertically, as if whatever made them had been clinging to the wall. That was the moment I understood something important. This wasn't trying to get in. Not yet. It was waiting, learning, and I hadn't even seen it fully. After that night, I stopped opening the window entirely. Didn't matter how hot it was, didn't matter how stuffy the air became. The window stayed locked. I barely slept. Every night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sound. Sometimes it came, sometimes it didn't. And somehow, the nights when it didn't were worse, because silence felt like attention. I started changing my routine. I stopped going straight home after work, walked longer routes, sat in my car for a few minutes before getting out. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. But paranoia doesn't leave marks on glass. A few nights later, the tapping returned. This time, it was lower. Not at the center of the window, closer to the frame. Tap, tap, tap. 3 times. Slow. Almost polite. My chest tightened. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I waited. Nothing else followed. No scratching, no dragging. Just that message. I'm here. The next morning, I saw my neighbor from across the hall. An older man, mid-60s maybe, quiet, polite. We'd exchanged greetings 100 times. That morning, he looked shaken, pale. His hands trembled as he unlocked his door. "You okay?" I asked. He hesitated, then leaned in closer. "Did you hear something last night?" he whispered. My stomach dropped. "What kind of something?" I asked. He swallowed. "Knocking," he said. "On the window." I stared at him. He lived 2 floors above me, higher, much higher. "That doesn't make sense," I said. He nodded slowly. "That's what I told myself,"
He glanced down the hallway, then back at me. "Whatever it is," he whispered.
"Don't open the window." He went inside and closed the door. That was the last time I saw him alive. 2 nights later, police cars filled the street. Red and blue lights painted the walls of the building. I stood in the hallway with the other tenants, watching officers move in and out of the old man's apartment. The door was intact, no forced entry, locked from the inside. One officer spoke quietly to the building manager. Another photographed the window. It was wide open. People started talking. Low voices, short sentences. Someone mentioned blood. Another said the furniture near the window was overturned. A plant knocked to the floor. Curtains torn. Signs of a struggle. But only near the window. Not the door, not the hallway. The police looked confused. They should have been. The man lived on the 7th floor. Later that day, an officer knocked on my door. I answered. He asked routine questions. Had I seen anything? Heard anything unusual? I hesitated, then told him about the knocking. His expression changed. Not disbelief, recognition. "You're not the first to say that," he admitted. They never found the body. Just blood, scratches, handprints on the inside of the window. And something else. Marks on the outside of the building. Long, vertical, like something had climbed up. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed with a friend across town. Still, I couldn't sleep, because even there, I kept imagining the sound, tap. When I returned the next day, something felt different, heavier. The air in the building felt thick. I passed the old man's apartment. The door was sealed. Police tape still hanging loose. As I walked by, I noticed something. The window was closed now, but the glass was cracked from the outside. That night it came again, stronger, louder, not tapping anymore, knocking, deliberate, firm, like it was tired of waiting. Gasp. I sat up in bed, heart racing. The knocking moved, not on the glass, on the wall, outside, sliding, downward, as if whatever it was had repositioned itself. Then it stopped, and I heard something that made my skin crawl. Breathing, directly behind the glass. I crept closer, slow, every instinct screaming no. The curtains shifted slightly, not from wind, from pressure, something leaning against them. No, no, no. A shape pressed into the fabric. Not a face, not hands, just a form. Unnatural, bent, like it wasn't meant to be upright. I stepped back. My phone slipped from my hand, hit the floor. The sound was loud, sharp. The breathing stopped instantly. Then, a soft scrape, moving upward, away. It was climbing again. The next morning, another neighbor was gone. A woman from the 6th floor. Her window was open. Her door was locked. Same pattern, same confusion. Same question the police couldn't answer. Who was standing outside her window, and how? By the end of the week, everyone knew. Not officially, but everyone knew. You could see it in their eyes. Windows stayed shut, curtains drawn. People stopped standing near them at night, stopped opening them, stopped sleeping. I learned the rule too late. Whatever it was, it didn't break in. It waited. It listened. And if you opened the window, even a little, you invited it inside. After the second neighbor disappeared, the building changed. Not physically, emotionally. People stopped lingering in the hallways. Nobody waited for elevators together anymore. Doors closed faster. Conversations ended early. Everyone felt it, even if no one said it out loud. Something was wrong here. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom, moved to the living room, mattress on the floor, no window close to my head. It didn't help. The sound followed me. Not every night, but often enough that I never relaxed. Tap. Sometimes once, sometimes twice. Never in a rhythm. Always just enough to let me know it was still there. One night, something changed. I was sitting on the couch, lights off, staring at my phone without actually reading anything. The window was closed, locked, curtains drawn. I heard the tap. Then I heard something else. My name. Very quiet, almost respectful. Hey. I froze. My heart slammed so hard it hurt. No one should know my name from outside my window. I didn't answer. I didn't move. I barely breathed. It tried again. Closer. Clearer. My voice. Not perfect, but close enough to make my skin crawl. Are you awake? That was when I understood. It wasn't just knocking anymore. It was listening. Learning. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes on the curtains. The voice stopped. Then came the sound of movement. Not tapping, not scratching. Weight shifting. Something adjusting its grip. Like it had realized words weren't working. The next morning, I noticed marks on the wall near the window frame. Thin, vertical, like something had dragged itself down the concrete. There was dirt on the sill, dark, wet. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I ran into a woman from the 5th floor in the stairwell. She looked exhausted, eyes sunken, hands shaking. "You hear it too, right?" she asked before I could say anything. I nodded. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "It listens," she said. "And if you move closer to the window, it moves closer too." That night, I tested something. I stood across the room. No sound. I took one step closer. Tap. I stopped. It stopped. I stepped back. Silence. My stomach twisted. It wasn't reacting randomly. It was tracking position. Around 3 a.m., it tried again. This time, it didn't speak. It breathed. Slow, controlled. Right outside the glass. Then came a new sound. Fingers. Not tapping, dragging, as if it was feeling for the latch. I felt tears burn my eyes, not from fear, but from the pressure of knowing how close it was. I whispered without thinking, "Go away." The breathing stopped. Then, softly, almost amused, it whispered back, "Open." I stumbled backward and hit the wall. The sound outside shifted immediately. Fast, urgent, scraping, like it had lost patience. Then it moved. Upward. Away. Climbing. The next day, police were back. Another apartment, another open window, another locked door. This one on the 8th floor. They didn't say much, but I saw the looks on their faces. They had no explanation, and they hated that. That evening, the building manager posted a notice. Keep windows closed at night. Report unusual sounds immediately. No mention of how something could reach them. That night, it didn't knock. It waited. I felt it. That presence. That attention. Like eyes without eyes, listening for the smallest mistake. I realized something then. It wasn't hunting randomly. It was choosing. And it had already chosen me. Nothing happened for 4 days. No tapping, no breathing, no whispers. At first, that felt like relief. Then it started to feel wrong. People relaxed. Not completely, but enough. Windows stayed closed, yes. Curtains stayed drawn. But the tension softened. You could hear doors opening again. Someone laughed in the hallway once. Normal sounds crept back in. That's how it always happens. I didn't trust the silence. I marked the days on my phone. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, nothing. Day 3, still nothing. On the 4th day, I almost convinced myself it was over, that maybe it had moved on, or maybe it had never been real. That thought scared me more than the tapping ever did. On the 5th night, I woke up before it made a sound. That alone told me everything. I opened my eyes at 2:38 a.m. The room was still. Too still. Then, tap, once. Soft, lower than before. Not at my window. From above. I sat up slowly. The sound came again, from the apartment directly above mine, the 6th floor. I held my breath. It wasn't knocking at my window anymore. It was knocking at someone else's. The tapping continued, slow, patient. Then it stopped. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. I told myself that was it, that whoever lived up there didn't hear it, didn't react, did the right thing. I was wrong. I heard footsteps upstairs, careful ones, approaching the window. A chair scraped softly against the floor, someone moving closer. I whispered to myself without realizing, "No, don't." There was a voice, muffled through the ceiling. A man's voice, confused, sleep-heavy. "Hello?" Silence followed. Then, a sound I will never forget. A soft click. Not a latch opening fully, just enough. The tapping stopped immediately. What came next wasn't loud. There was no scream, no crash, just a sudden rush of movement, fast, violent, followed by one sharp breath, cut short. Then nothing. Complete silence. I sat there shaking, staring at the ceiling, waiting for something else. It never came. The next morning, police were already there. I knew before I opened my door. The hallway smelled different, metallic, cold. The man upstairs hadn't shown up for work. His door was locked. Again. The window was open. Again. This time there was blood on the sill and on the outside wall, trailing upward. An officer spoke quietly with another. "There's no way," one of them said. "No ladder, no marks from below." They didn't look up. None of them ever did. Days passed. Nothing happened again. No tapping, no breathing. Another silence. This one longer. A full week. People started believing again, believing it was over, believing it was a person, believing the danger was gone. I knew better, because on the 8th night, it came back to me. It didn't knock, it didn't tap, it pressed. Something heavy leaned against my window, not enough to break it, just enough to let me feel the weight, the pressure. The glass creaked softly. Then, it spoke. Not whispering this time. Normal volume. Calm. Patient. Open the window. It wasn't asking. I stood, frozen. My legs felt hollow. The voice continued. "You watched him." My blood ran cold. "You listened." It knew. You know how quiet it can be. I shook my head, even though it couldn't see me. "No," I whispered. Outside, something shifted, scraped, moved upward, closer to eye level. The curtain lifted slightly, not pulled, pushed from outside. I saw it then, not fully, just enough. A shape pressed against the glass, limbs bent the wrong way. No eyes, no mouth I could see. Just skin stretched tight over something that moved beneath it, listening. I stumbled backward and fell. The sound outside changed instantly. Fast movement, anger, scraping up the wall. It left. Not defeated, not gone. Just done with me for now. I understood the truth that night. It doesn't hunt often. It waits. It studies. And when it acts, it doesn't make mistakes. After that night, I didn't sleep at home. Not once. I packed a bag and stayed with friends, then hotels, then my car. Anywhere but near that building after dark. Because now it wasn't just knocking. It was talking, and it knew things it shouldn't. 5 days passed. Nothing happened. No disappearances, no police cars, no sirens. The silence stretched. Too long. That's when I understood something important. It wasn't hunting anymore. It was waiting. On the 6th day, the police called me. They wanted to ask more questions. This time, not routine ones. They brought me into a small office. 2 detectives, tired faces, coffee that had gone cold. One of them slid a photo across the table. Marks on a concrete wall. Vertical, irregular, deep. "We found these behind the building," he said, "between the trash area and the old service shaft." I felt my stomach sink. "That shaft," I said quietly. "Does it connect to the upper floors?" They exchanged a look. "It does," the other detective said. "But it was sealed years ago." "Sealed doesn't mean closed," I replied. That's when everything finally made sense. The building wasn't just old. It was unfinished. Behind the walls, old maintenance shafts, narrow crawl spaces, emergency access routes that were never removed, places no one checked anymore, places no one remembered. Except it. The disappearances suddenly fit a pattern. Days between them, long pauses, careful timing. It wasn't random. It was conserving energy, choosing moments when no one would look up. And it wasn't climbing from the ground. It was already inside the building. They searched the shafts. What they found wasn't a nest. It wasn't bones or bodies. It was worse. Scratches, skin, blood smeared along the concrete. Signs of movement. Repeated movement. Up, down, across. Whatever it was, it lived between the apartments. That night, they decided to end it. Not quietly, not carefully. They evacuated half the building. Floodlights, generators, thermal cameras, motion sensors. They treated it like an animal, because that's what it was. Not supernatural, not invincible, just adapted. I watched from across the street. The building looked wrong under the lights, too exposed, like something private was being revealed. Then the sensors triggered. High up, between floors. Movement where no one should be. It reacted instantly. Lights came on. It moved. Sensors adjusted. It froze. They realized something fast. It wasn't blind. It just didn't need eyes the way we do. It reacted to sound, to heat, to air movement. And when the building lit up completely, it panicked. I heard it before I saw it. A sound like wet skin scraping concrete. Fast. Desperate. It burst from a maintenance hatch near the roof. Limbs bent wrong, body thin and powerful. It didn't roar. It didn't scream. It ran. They didn't chase it like in movies. They funneled it, blocked exits, cut airflow, drove it downward, toward the sealed shaft, toward the place it had learned to hide. It tried to climb. Floodlights followed. Heat followed. Noise followed. For the first time, it made a sound. Not a scream, a strained, broken breath. They trapped it, not with bullets, not with fire, with concrete. They sealed the shaft from both ends, poured until it filled the space completely. No air, no gaps, no movement. It took hours. No one spoke. We all listened, waiting for something. Nothing came. The building was declared safe, officially. They told us it was over. They said whatever it was couldn't survive. They were probably right. Probably. I moved out, never went back inside. A month later, they demolished that section of the building entirely. New walls, new concrete, new doors. The city forgot. People always do. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm in a quiet room, I remember something the detective said under his breath that night. Something that didn't make it into any report. We don't know how long it was there. And worse, we don't know if it was the only one. Because buildings like that exist everywhere. Old, unfinished, forgotten. And all it ever needed was an open window.